Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome back to the Genisus Esports channel for our final time here in 2023. That's right, it's the final round of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship here at Watkins Glen. David Christie on the commentary alongside my good buddy Tapelo Merioli for the final time this year. Tapelo, a huge round. It all comes down to this for the championship. It should be fairly easy to sort out, but still lots of positions left to settle here at Watkins Glen, and I just can't believe we're already at the end of the season.
Yeah, look, it's come as a shock. It's been a long season, but one that has flown by. The top three is settled, but there's still some to play for in the top three. As you can see on screen, we started round one in Kyalami with a brilliant race that was. Throughout the season, we've seen challenges, standout races. Bathurst in the Dark was utterly fantastic. Nürburgring gave us some nice surprises. Monza last week served up some interesting penalties, which is something that we have to look out for tonight as well, because penalties might just shake it up a bit in the top three. But surprisingly, ladies and gentlemen, just for all you watching out there, George Boothby has to finish one lap of the race and he will officially be crowned the champion for the 2023 Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. So, but the challenge is still there for Luke Whitehead and Tariq Adams. So where's your money going, David?
Oh, that is a very, very good question, Tapelo. Well, the thing is that it's a strange one, right? Because Luke can only tie George Boothby on points, and that's if he gets a full win today, and George does not finish the race, does not get any points whatsoever, so out on that lap one. Now the thing with that is that the Luke would take that only because he's got more wins, I believe, on the countback, because they would then both be on 299 points here. So yeah, that's going to be a hell of an ask. I just can't see I can't see that happening. The thing is, though, it's Tariq that I'm more interested on this one here. The fact that he's got a chance of getting himself up into that second position here. Outside of that, though, goodness knows how it's going to unwind. And remember, not only have we got the top three prizes, but we've also got some fantastic participation prizes for announcing at the end of this as well. We've got a draw coming up at the end of the show and at the end of the season, so it'd be very, very interesting to see how that one is going to pan out. As for your question, what you asked me here, Tapelo, I think that this is most certainly going to be the way that it looks in terms of going to George Boothby just now. I think it's too much to fall against him for that not to happen tonight. But God knows, I want to see some chaos unfolding.
Yeah, look, stranger things have happened. As we all know, this is South Africa. I don't think there's a chance of load shedding, ladies and gentlemen, but strange things happen, and it will be interesting to see how this race pans out. It's a very interesting circuit. I've done my homework this week. I watched a few races, watched a few onboards, so we should see some interesting matchups. But it's been close this season, and look, 12 rounds in, and I think we're still looking at everyone. Our eyes are all over the grid. Some drivers have stepped up. We've got new drivers coming in this race as well, so it should be interesting. Yeah, look, I think the title is pretty much done as well. I think George Boothby is a shoo-in at this point, but second place is still up for grabs. Difference between Luke Whitehead and Tariq Adams is 13 points. Depending on how the race goes, that should change. And here we've got an onboard with George Boothby. I'll take you on as he breaks into turn one. Try and kiss the apex. Hold your line. You don't want to go too wide on the exit. You can run on the curbs, but you need to keep one tire on the curbs to avoid a track limit violation. Going down into turn two and turn three, the S's really fast, really quick. A lot of time to be gained by going to as close as possible to the wall at turn three. On into turn four, around the back straight. Massive time to be gained here. If you get it wrong for the S's, you will be losing time down that back straight as you go into the bus stop. Again, another place where you can abuse the curbs. You want to go over them. You want to get as much of the minimum speed up as you can. That is how you do a lap around the circuit, ladies and gentlemen. As you go into turn 5, the outer loop, very tricky. Sometimes you can see the car just start to over rotate around the rear. Drivers need to catch up to that. Turn 6, very tricky downhill, but the camber does support you here as you go out. The key to getting a fast lap as well is getting on the power as quick as possible out of these long turns, particularly turn 7, turn 8, turn 6. It's very tricky. Like I said, it's a high traction zone. The cars will tend to over rotate on the drivers, but you do want to get on the power as soon as possible. As we see here, George Boothby looking comfortable, just going over the curbs, unsettling the car there. It's one of those moments that have you shaken up a bit as a driver. You see, keeping it within the track limits on the curbs. Again, crucial to go as wide as possible to maintain the time. Does he kiss the wall? No, I think he makes it just about. But that's also a key characteristic of the circuit. Wherever the walls are, you want to get as close as possible, especially down into turn 1. You want to get close to that wall after turn 11. That's how you maximize time on this track, David.
It really is, and I could not have called that any better myself there, Tapello. Amazing walk around this this fantastic track here at Watkins Glen, and it's a track that I actually genuinely really like driving. It's really enjoyable. There's a lot of fast flowing corners, as we were hearing there. For me, it's coming down the chute and going towards the toe as well, but again, we're going to see over the course of the next 90 minutes. But Luke Whitehead on pole position, with Cody Sherritt in second place there. Tariq Adam in third position. George Boothby down in fourth position. So at the moment, everything done that needs to be done. But again, it's we'll wait to see what happens there. But the thing is that it's all about down into the 90, as we see Daniel Demetos Pareto getting a little bit shaky. He is in that Lamborghini outfit. Decides to pull off, and he has had enough just now. We are watching Daniel Gottschalk coming out of the final corner in the McLaren. Also having a look at Sitshaba Mashigo in the number 36 Aston Martin. Great to see Sitshaba out there as well. I'd imagine they're Tapello that for Sitshaba that Aston Martin might handle a little bit differently from the normal GT86 that he would be used to driving.
Yeah, most definitely. I think it's something I'll call him after the race about it, just hear how he goes about it. He had a fantastic season, national champion in the GR Cup Series this year. So kind of moving from the actual racing onto back to sim where he started out as well. So interesting and fantastic to see him in this race. And just on the track, David, I don't have that much experience on the circuit. I've watched a few races. You watch the analysis, but I've never raced that much on the circuit. But it looks very interesting. Everything I've watched tends to be, action-packed, adrenaline-inducing. So I think, look, this 90 minutes, it's 90 minutes, of course, but it is going to fly by because I think we're going to have action up and down the circuit. We're going to be all over tonight.
I think we're absolutely going to be that way as well. So there we go. Qualifying is done and dusted. Pole position for Luke Whitehead ahead of Cody Sherritt. Fantastic second position for Cody Sherritt. Tariq Adam in third. George Boothby qualified in P4. That's how it's going to look then for this final race of the season. 12 races that we've had come and go, and very much looking forward to how this is all gonna fold down here at Watkins Glen. 3.45 miles here at the Grand Prix circuit at Watkins Glen is one of the spiritual homes really of North American sports car racing in Watkins Glen in New York County. And again, just watching the cars making their way on the grid for the final time. The stalling is over, ladies and gentlemen. For the final time, we head down to the grid as Luke Whitehead takes pole position alongside Cody Sherritt. Row 1. Row 2 is going to be Tariq Adam fighting for that second place in the championship alongside George Boothby, and then it's Giovanni Porzio in 5th position with Abe Sentima 5th and 6th as well. That's on row 3. Row 4 is going to be Christian Deploy alongside Luke Allison, and then on row 5 you've got Christian Venter alongside Daniel de Matos Pareto in 10th position. 11th place for Alexander Kuznetsov, and then Daniel Gottschalk in 11th and 12th position. You've then got Milani in 13th position, and then Shaba Mashigo in 14th position as well. Slightly smaller grids than we started the season with, but for the final 90-minute race, I think that it's safe to say they are going to have an absolute blast out there here tonight, Tapello. All the drivers, I think, very, very keen to get this underway.
Yeah, for sure. And look, we've spoken about it, how some drivers have started to drop off as the season went deep, but 14 drivers, that's still an interesting, it should serve up an interesting race. No one loves the fact that there's 14 drivers more than George Boothby, because the top 15 score a point, so he just needs a point somewhere, somehow. So he should be safe. He should be safe. I think he's loving the current situation, but the race is about to start as the drivers are about to go on their warm-up lap. But we've spoken about it this season already. It's kind of that weird moment of a bit of pressure, but a bit of euphoria as well. You're finally gonna get the race underway. You've done the practice, you've done the qualifying. You just need to have your wits about you. I like to say it's the last systems check. What's working, what's not working? Are you in the comfortable?
Yeah, no, totally. I think the thing with that as well is the fact that as they're coming into this final race of the season here, Tapello, they really, really have to keep their wits about them. We see what a difficult position is, facing George Boothby and Luke Whitehead at the moment. Both of them fighting tooth and nail for this championship. Even Tariq Adam, he wants to get himself involved up there as well. They have to make sure that they get through that opening stint, and that is by no means guaranteed, especially here at Watkins Glen, especially going down into the 90 for the first time of asking. But the cars making their way through the inner and outer loop then on this formation lap. They're taking their honours here at Watkins Glen for the final time this year for this fantastic season finale of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, get onto the YouTube chat. Let us know who you are supporting tonight and who you are going to be supporting. But Luke Whitehead going out there just now, as we said, Cody Sherritt alongside him. Cody will be desperate to try and make this happen here tonight. And welcome back to Pello. Just saying there though that Luke, I think, will be keen to push as hard as he can. That's literally all he can do right now is just push in front.
Yeah, I think he'll be looking for those characteristic Luke Whitehead starts we've seen this season. You know, the amount of speed he carries in the first 5 laps, just to create a gap, get himself comfortable. I think that's all he can do, and hope other things work in his favor. It's a bit of a stretch, but you know, there's still a bit of bragging rights and ego to go for. So if he has a good race, he can put that on his shoulder, walk away with a smile.
For sure. So through the final couple of corners then, ladies and gentlemen, a 90-minute race here at Watkins Glen. Lamborghini and Ferrari leading the field out. And this is the other dynamic as well. Remember, all through the season, since that brand new 1.9 update came out, the Ferraris have really been struggling. That BOP has changed slightly, and McLaren's starting to lose out a little bit there, and I have a horrible feeling is that number 21, so that might be Mittelini that has unfortunately spun that car round on the formation lap, but he will get a couple of seconds to rejoin up to the back of the group and get back onto the tail end of things now. But for the final time, ladies and gentlemen, this season, what a season it's been here for the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Luke Whitehead chasing down this title all he can do is lead and try and win this race. All George Boothby has to do is survive one lap to get that position done, to mean that he will get himself a point in this championship. And I think that he might already have done everything that he needs to do. But Luke Whitehead and Cody Sherritt side by side for the final time this season. The green flag flies here at Watkins Glen, and that's a cracking start from Cody Sherritt. He's going to try and get round the outside, but there is Tariq Adams with the two teammates into the 90 for the first time. Luke Whitehead has a little bit of a wiggle. There goes George Boothby up the inside, trying to take 2 places for the price of 1 as they come up through that stretch for the first time of Askin here. George Boothby tucks in behind of Cody Sherritt right now, and they're going to go down into the inner loop as well. You can see Abe Santima, he fancies getting involved in this as well. He jumps over the curb there, still side by side with cars further back here, but given that we are already halfway through this opening lap here, and George Boothby right on to the tail end here of Tariq Adam, this is exactly what you wanted to see from this opening lap here. Cody Sherritt being sent backwards at a rate of knots, and it's just a gaggle of Genisus Esports cars left, right and centre, all the way down from Cody Sherritt, Luke Harrison, Giovanni Porzio, Christian Duploy and Daniel D'Amatos Pareto in the background here. But this is looking very, very ominous indeed. Just a few corners left to go before we can officially say that it is done and dusted. George Boothby is going to be your 2023 season champion here for the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Round that left-hander then, just 2 more corners left to go here for the drivers to complete their opening lap of the race. And what a season it has been for George Boothby, because make no mistake, you might go across the line to take the championship, but you only start the final rounds. He will be absolutely wanting to take this, and there we go, Zapello. George Boothby, your 2023 champion. As Luke Whitehead then in the lead of the race. Tariq Adam in second place, George Boothby in third, Cody Sherritt in fourth, Abe Santima in fifth position, Luke Harrison in sixth, Giovanni Porzio in seventh, Christian Duploy in eighth position, Christian Fencer in ninth position. But this is Daniel D'Amatos Pareto trying to have a look on his teammate on Fencer, but again can't quite get close enough to make anything stick just now, as Alexander Kuznetsov just outside the top 10 just now. Daniel Gottschalk in 12th, Shaba Mashigo in 13th position, and then Mitteleni in 14th position just now. Unfortunately, we've lost Capello for the moment. We'll get back as soon as we can, as Daniel D'Amatos Pareto goes around and around and around the corner at the bottom of the chute there, and that is a very, very unfortunate accident. That's a lot of damage picked up on that Lamborghini. I mean, it wasn't the best handling car before that, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the best handling car after that altogether as well. But here is Tariq Adam then. Remember, this is all about that fight for second place just now, given that there is just, let's have a look at how many points there are between them. There are just 13 points between Luke Whitehead and Tariq Adam. And given that there's really only going to be like 5 points, I believe, between first and second place, I don't think it's going to be enough for them to hold on to that just now. So at the moment, it has to be an absolute calamity for Luke Whitehead that's going to allow Tariq Adam any sort of position in this, any sort of chance of getting up into that second position. And given, as we see Daniel D'Amatos Pareto trying to do that recovery drive here, that it's what, let's have a look here, 13 points as I said. That is basically going to have to be down to fourth position. So Tariq Adam would need to win this race, and Luke would need to go down to fourth position. That, I'm definitely not ruling that out, but again, it just shows how much you rely on other drivers having misfortune rather than taking things into your own hands. Christian Duploy though in 8th position, chasing down Giovanni Porto as Daniel De Matos Pareto is making short work of Sechaba Machigo. So that is up to P12 now. So the Lambo driver getting a decent charge at that recovery drive. But again, it's all going to be uphill from here because you've got Gottschalk about a second ahead, 4 seconds ahead, then basically like 3.5 seconds up to the remainder of the drivers. Here is your championship winner then, George Boothby. As I said, he is going to be desperate to try and make this happen here. He's got Tariq Adam, who is now starting to drop away a little bit. It was 0.4 of a second, now 0.7 of a second. But again, it's how well Luke Whitehead can hold on to the pace that he's got here, and whether or not George Boothby wants to actually take this fight to him. You can see just in the background there as well, Corey Sherritt ahead of Abe Santima, and a 1.5 seconds just behind him. Tapello, a very warm welcome back there. Again, we saw Daniel De Matos Pareto there in the Lamborghini having a big accident, dropping himself down to 12th position there, and that's a bit of a blow for any sort of championship hopes for him.
Yeah, look, it's not what you like to see at this stage of a season, you know, getting crashes and mistakes in the last race. As we've all said, look, the championship is all but done, but there's a lot to race for. There's pride, there's personal ambition. So a crash like that just does massive damage to your confidence as a driver. So it hurts, unfortunately, and I think anyone who's been part of a sim race, doesn't matter what your preferred sim is, you felt that, you know what it's like. So I can tell you now, it's not going to be a good night for Daniel De Matos Pareto today, but hopefully it's something he can bounce back. Hint, hint, there's a season 2, so he should be looking to do better come next year.
And that's exactly what he will be hoping for. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned to the end of the broadcast. We have got a huge announcement regarding season 2 coming up at the end of the show, so stick around for that. We've also got our draw to be done for our participation prizes. As I said, we've got some fantastic prizes thanks to our wonderful friends and partners over at Camus. We've got a direct drive wheel and a fantastic set of pedals that will be given away to drivers that have completed at least 8 out of the 12 rounds of this championship. They'll get put into a draw and they will be decided at the end of the show. So again, stick around for that. But again, here at Watkins Glen then, just about 10 minutes gone in this race, and this is what we've seen from these Genisus Esports team drivers just now here to Pillow, is the fact that it seems to be formation flying is the order of the day. There's no crazy moves, no wild overtakes or anything like that. It's literally pushing each other around, making sure that everybody gets through this race here and has a good time while doing so.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's been such an interesting thing to see, because them sort of holding formation, following each other, actually works in their favor. Some people look at this and be like, why is no one overtaking? Why is people, not forcing something? But as we've spoken about it this season, and we've actually seen it in races where if drivers fight too much amongst themselves, they start to fall back from the cars in front, their race pace goes low. So holding position like this, look, ignore the fact that they're teammates, but holding position actually makes your race pace faster. As we look at George Boothby coming up on the back of Tariq Adam, talking about race pace, kind of the race coming to George Boothby at the stage, 1 hour 20 minutes to go, but he's very close, within 0.3 of a second. That's a very good buffer, especially going into the longer straights like the back straight, as we see here as they go into the inner loop. not close enough to force a move. You really don't want to force it there, but you just want to maximize taking the inner loop as quick as you can and just getting in that slipstream, as we see Daniel Dematos Praetos going around the outside of Daniel Gottschalk. Good move. As we were saying, you do not want to force a move going into the inner loop, but they're kind of showing me that I'm the commentator and they're the racers tonight.
And on that note, obviously, with it being well over an hour and 20 minutes left to go here, it's a bit of a battle of attrition as well. We're going to have, we're 5 laps in, so I imagine we're going to have at least another, just trying to do the mental arithmetic in my head here. I think we're going to end up doing around about 60 odd laps, 65 laps potentially at the end of this. So when you consider that, we're going to have to get all the way through to the end there, yeah, it's you kind of have to be on your best behaviour for sure, and that's exactly what we've seen with this Kaizen Championship here from Genisus Esports. That whole Kaizen philosophy and the Kaizen principle of execute, analyze, iterate, improve, execute again, and just this constant cycle of improvement here. That's exactly what we've seen here. What I will point out though is Abe Santima is, he's really been rising through the ranks here. Santima was lucky if he could get into the top 10 in the first couple of races here, and then after around about round 5 or round 6, he was able to really ratchet up those engines and make some big improvements here. He's now got the likes of Luke Addison, Giovanni Porto and Christian Duploy well behind him, but again, going quite wide here. You have to be so careful when you're going through that outer loop there, because if you want to try and take that curb on the outside, it can massively destabilise the car. But Luke Addison here does really want to try and get this position, this 5th position here from Abe Santima. Looking a little bit further up though, Tariq Adam now, I think, laying any claim to getting that race win from Luke Whitehead just now. He's desperately fighting off George Boothby, but also interestingly, Cody Sherritt now getting brought into the mix here as well. 0.7 of a second here, and again, it's a very calm, I don't want to use the word calm, but it's a very respectful affair here. Everybody kind of just circulating and kind of just doing their own lap times here.
Yeah, I think perhaps the length of the race has a lot to do with that. We've spoken about it's a 90-minute race. You've kind of done the maths. We're looking at about 65 laps. So, yes, as much as you want to push to get in the best position possible, you want to be in front, you kind of want to control the pace, but you do not want to force something if you do not need to. There's still a lot to go into this race. So if you can hold position without losing out in terms of race pace, in terms of, catching up to whoever's in front and when you want to finish the race, you can kind of see this, call it the procession coming about. You can see there, as we see George Boothby going for the move, finally catching up to Tariq Adam. Tariq defends, going into the inner loop. Something he's done very well so far this season is just the positioning of that car, and we've seen this happen multiple times between Tariq Adam and George Boothby. Is whenever they're attacking and defending against each other, it's very clean. They position their cars really well, so the respect is there, but they're still pushing each other, which is very good to see.
Okay, so what we need to do on Daniel Dematos Prato's car is have a look at how many bits are still left on that thing, because that is now exactly the same. Oh no, it's not actually exactly the same, because that's just a couple of corners earlier. That's on the outer loop that he's crashed this time, but that was down at the exit of the chute earlier on, as Luke Addison onto the back end of Abe Santima. And I'll be honest with you, part of me was like, oh, it's very quiet, this race, and now suddenly this lap they've all decided to wake up and all start knocking lumps out of each other here. Luke Addison desperately wants to get that position from Abe Santima, and what we're starting to see here now is quite a few of the drivers overdriving these cars, maybe getting a little bit too much heat into the tyres, a little bit too much pressure into the tyres as well, and that means they slip and slide a little bit more than we're used to seeing here. But Luke Addison firmly on the tail of Abe Santima. A little bit further up as well, you can see George Boothby and Cody Sherritt firmly on the tail of Tariq Adam as well. This is getting very, very sketchy indeed. This could all be done on the back stretch here. It's all about the defence from Tariq Adam. Is there enough of the room on the inside there for George Boothby? No, there's not, and surely that's going to allow Cody Sherritt to get a little bit of a run here as well. But again, these two fighting, that's now 3 seconds up to Luke Whitehead. You have to say here, Tapello, even if George Boothby is able to get past Tariq Adam here, has he got enough left in the tank to undo a 3-second gap there for Luke Whitehead? Well, we'll
yeah, look.
Oh, sorry, on you go.
I don't think that's gonna happen. It's all about just holding position. Yeah, I think it's all about holding position, and let's see the replay coming up one more time for Daniel Dematos Pretos. Ooh, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. These things happen on the circuit, actually, hey?
100%, and unfortunately, all he's done is just clip the curb on the inner loop there. Thankfully, he's avoided any real issues with that because the car didn't actually come to much damage there, despite heading straight in towards barriers. Here is Luke Addison though. He's stuck in between a rock and a hard place at the moment because Abe Santima in front of him, just 0.2 of a second. But also now there is Giovanni Porzio, and they're going to have to get a wriggle on here now because just behind them is Christian Fencer and Christian Duploy as well. 8th and 9th position, just about 1.5 seconds away down the road from them here. But again, mandatory pit stop for these drivers. They'll have to go in at some point during the race as well. A 20-minute pit stop window, and it's a mandatory fixed refueling through the course of the race as well. So I would imagine that's going to kick off in around about sort of 15 to 30 minutes time. That'll change the strategy up very slightly, but again, you're starting to see here with this fight for Tariq Adam, George Boothby more inclined to stay with Tariq Adam than he is to stay with Cody Sherritt just now. But that gap is coming down, and Abe Santima and Luke Addison, they're actually starting to catch up on this little group here as well. So you get the feeling that this is starting to bubble away now, Tapello, and that I think there could be some fisticuffs coming very, very shortly indeed. So let's have a look then as Daniel Dematos Preto still on that recovery drive. Unfortunately, Tapello is having a few connection issues tonight, so we will try and sort of get him in and out as much as we possibly can, but you'll just have to bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. If you have just joined us, thank you very much for tuning into the Genisus Esports YouTube channel. My name's Dave Christie, joining me in the commentary box here tonight, Tapello Marioli, for the final rounds of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship for 2023. We've already confirmed George Boothby as our championship winner, but again, so many more prizes and places up for grabs right now. But here comes George Boothby then on the backstretch, on to Tariq Adam, gets the run, but I don't think he's close enough on this back straight here. He gets a good run, but it's nowhere near enough down into that inner loop here. But again, it's just a case of these fights building up and pushing on as much as they can as the clock runs down. Also looking here at Alexander Kuznetsov now gets himself into that P10. I'm also seeing that Daniel Dematos Preto at the back now after that little instant at the inner loop. He's now down to 14th position, so he's plumb last behind Mitteleni. Also noticing that Sechaba Mashigo is now behind Mitteleni, so obviously there's been an issue there. Let's go and check out some issues or some incidents that happened earlier on. And that is a Lamborghini of Daniel Dematos Preto. Ow. I mean, I hope he's paying his engineers well after what they're going to have to do to recover that car, because it is that car is done. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse, and I think he's actually had another bit of another accident there because he was 1.8 seconds behind Shaba Mashigo, and that gap now going up to around about 13 to 15 seconds there. Yeah, 12.7 seconds. So another incident there for Daniel de Matos Prieto, unfortunately. And if I'm being honest, I think that car is done and dusted. But through the S's then, here comes George Boothby. Now he's closer. Now he's got an opportunity there as we see Giovanni Porzio right onto the tail end of Luke Addison here. But really, we should be keeping an eye on what is going on with George Boothby. Can't quite make anything happen through the inner loop. Is about keeping that pressure on. Giovanni Porzio keeping the pressure on as well. He's lost a little bit of time there. The hesitation, that is what costs you, ladies and gentlemen, as Christian Fencer and Christian Deploy decide to come and join the battle once again here. We're already nearly half an hour into this final round of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship here. What a race we've had. Luke Whitehead currently out in the lead at the moment in his Lamborghini. Second place at the moment is Tariq Adam. Third place is currently George Boothby. And I hate to say it, but Daniel de Matos Prieto into the pit lane. He might be trying to get repairs just now, but I don't know if we'll see that car back out on track, given the amount of issues and given the amount of problems that car has had. But we're watching Cody Sherritt, who is a man on a mission at the moment. He wants to get a podium position right now. He wants to get that third place from George Boothby, but he can't do anything at the moment. He's trying as much as he can, although this is now starting to look very, very favourable for him indeed. And I think Tariq Adam would prefer it if George Boothby would go behind Cody Sherritt, because Cody Sherritt could act as a rear gunner, teammates and all of that. I don't know how much that would work, but it's an interesting thought nonetheless. Here comes Cody Sherritt then through the S's as the pair of them, the three of them, end up coming along this back straight. Is it going to be anything for Cody? He has a little think about it, but again just has to tuck in and keep behind all of those cars. That's a bit of a wobble there from Tariq Adam going through the inner loop, and it's starting to overdrive that car. Here comes George Boothby then, the pressure applied. Is it going to be a look up on the inside of the chute? Not quite just yet. And again, tyre management, tyre pressure is going to be something that these drivers have to keep an eye on. Gone are the days where drivers could just turn up and get behind the wheel of the car and decide that, you know, that was literally their job. They just had to turn left, turn right, put the accelerator down, put the brake down, that was it. Nowadays, drivers have to be so clued up, they have to be so mechanically sympathetic, and almost being mini race engineers in themselves, especially with esports just now. They have to learn all sorts of things like camber and caster and toe angle, all to try and get the very, very maximum, the very, very most that they can out of these cars, out of the performance and out of the setup every single lap round here. It's across for another lap then. The gap now 3.6 seconds to Luke Whitehead, so he is comfortably streaking off into the distance, and it's going to be a fitting way for Luke to kind of end this season. Unfortunately, if it wasn't for those two recent non-appearances from Luke Whitehead, then I think things would have been very, very different. However, here comes George Boothby then on the back stretch. Then he runs to the outside. Tariq Adam closes it off as they go into the inner loop there. Great defensive driving there. Boothby has everything that he possibly could do, and George Boothby still wobbles those wheels a little bit, overdriving the car, trying in frustration to get past Tariq Adam, but it's not to be just now. To Pell, some exciting scenes there. George Boothby desperate to try and get that car past Tariq Adam right now, but again, short of throwing kitchen sink, I don't know what he can do to get past Tariq right now.
I think I have an idea of what he can do, but the stewards won't be too happy about it. So I won't mention that one. But you see, this is what's interesting about trying to find that gap, because the more he fights Tariq Adam, the closer Cody Sherritt gets, and then now he has to consider defending as well. So it's something we've spoken about throughout the season. knowing when and how to attack, because if you try and force it, you're losing time to the guys behind, to the guys in front, and you're putting yourself in a tricky situation. So like you're saying, short of throwing the kitchen sink and maybe a bump or two, I think he has to try and hold pace for a bit, just try and figure out where Tariq Adam is, dare I say, a bit weaker, where he's making mistakes, maybe try and force a mistake of him instead of trying to go for an overtake. I think that could be the best strategy for George Boothby at this point in the race.
Looking a little bit further down as well, Abe Santima still masterfully dealing with all that pressure from Luke Addison, Giovanni Porzio, as there we go with Christian Deploy, and unfortunately, as I worried, Daniel De Matos Pareto then decides to retire from the race from last position in 14th position, and it's obviously just wasn't to be for him. Hopefully we will see more of him back in season 2, and again you can hear more about that when it comes to the end of the broadcast. We've got a major announcement for season 2, so do not go anywhere at the end of this one. But here we go then, this fight is still cracking on just now. This is still kicking off massively right now, and very much enjoying all of this at the moment as Luke Whitehead is off into the sunset. That gap's starting to come down very slightly though, 3.5 seconds. It was 3.6, so he might just be managing the gap at the moment. However, Tariq Adam ahead of George Boothby and Cody Sherritt just now. Cody Sherritt is starting to reel in George Boothby. Boothby's starting to really struggle a little bit with overdriving this car. He gets the advantage going into the S's and then seems to lose it all going into that inner loop. But again, just watching how this is all unfolding here to Pello, we've got about 4 little battles going on here. We've got Adam Boothby Sherritt, you've then got Santima, Addison and Porzio, then you've got Fenter and Deploy as well. I mean, this is definitely changed massively. The first 10 minutes of the race were fairly quiet, and now it's like proper sustained fighting.
It's one of those things we talk about where the race is its own thing. It's very difficult to predict a race. It changes lap by lap. Some drivers get more comfortable the deeper into a race you go. Some drivers tend to start really quickly and kind of fade. So that's what's happening now. The race is coming alive, and now we kind of need to keep our eyes on everything, call everything as it happens. And that's what's so interesting about sim racing, is that as much as you can be consistent, things just tend to happen in their own way. Drivers find speed, drivers lose speed, and we've already spoken about it. It's a longer race, strategy is a bit different. It's been a while since the drivers had a 90-minute race. So 30 minutes in a different race, and in our race, they're looking at halfway already. They're looking at pit stops. But here, you're still trying to figure out how to drive it, how to push, how to conserve your tire life. So it's a very different kind of mentality and driving style to what we've seen in the past 2 rounds.
Absolutely, and on top of that as well, they're also having to watch all of the battles that are going on around them as well. We see it for 2 separate occasions here. You've got Adams, you've got Boothby, and you've got Sherritt here on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you've got Abe Santima, you've got Luke Addison and Giovanni Porzio. Now if you're that driver in the middle, right, you want to try and get ahead. So if you're George Boothby, you want to get ahead of Tariq Adam, and if you're Luke Addison, you want to get ahead of Abe Santima. But the problem is, while you're fighting, while you're attacking that car in front, you're also having to defend from the likes of Cody Sherritt and from Giovanni Porzio as well. It's such a difficult thing. You've got to have eyes in the back of your head, but this could be it. This is a huge run here from George Boothby. Again, tries to go at the outside here. Wasn't as drastic as last time. Tries to hold it around the outside. There's contact between the 2 of them, and George Boothby forces his way through, and that means that Sherritt and Tariq Adam come to blows as well. Tariq Adam forces Cody Sherritt a little bit wide here, and that has unleashed the effort of George Boothby, and I think exactly the same has happened with Abe Santima. Unbelievable scenes here just now. Luke Addison getting sent to the realms of Giovanni Porzio as well, and wow, this is quite the turn up for the books here, Tapello.
Yeah, no, look, monkey see, monkey do. That's what they say. If you've done it, then that means it should work for me as well. But very interesting there. Like you were saying, if you're the driver in the middle, you kind of want to go past because you do not want to be defending. And very oftentimes we see the guy who's in third in such a queue, he has the best seats in the house. He can, dare I say, see how everything is going to play out and position their car. But very, very interesting from George Boothby to kind of, I don't want to say be that aggressive, but to kind of put his elbows out and assert his dominance going into that corner. That's sometimes the kind of move you have to make when the guy in front of you is not giving you an inch.
Unbelievable stuff here as Luke Addison on the tail end. You can see they're now being dropped towards Christian Fenter and Christian Duploy. So with Addison now being put down to that 7th position when he was up in 6th, that now means that instead of fighting Abe Santima to get into the top 5, he's now fighting for his life to stay at the top 10 at the moment, because he's only just a couple of tenths of seconds ahead of Fenter and Deploy. Now, thankfully, Alexander Kuznetsov down in 10th position. He is quite a bit back at the moment. But again, all it takes is one mistake or one accident for these drivers right now. As you see, Christian Deploy handle look on Christian Fenter just now as we are into the hour mark. We've got an hour left to go, ladies and gentlemen. And Luke Whitehead still in the lead of this race here, Tapello.
Yeah, look, Luke Whitehead is doing the Luke Whitehead thing, you know, where he just looks comfortable. He's holding his own. His race pace is looking tremendously well at this point in the race. So he's kind of got that gap. He's given himself some breathing room. But, we've got a crash. It's Chaba Mashiko touching the wall. What an introduction to the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship for Chaba back there. And I know he will be miffed at that. Not a great thing to happen. But as we see one more time, Christian Duploy and Christian Fenter going side by side. Again, keeping it respectful as teammates, which is something we've seen a lot from the Genisus Esports guys. But yeah, you kind of want to keep pace with the guys in front. You know, the Luke Addison, Giovanni Porter, Adam Santima, Abe Santima, you kind of want to get close to them. You don't want to fight as much. So I think the best strategy right now for Christian Duploy and Christian Fenter is kind of work together, hold position, and start moving forwards instead of fighting each other and falling back.
Oh no, we've got a bit of a message coming up from race control now. While that gets brought up, I'm going to have a look just now at that. Incident between cars 3 and 9 to warning to car 3 for an unsafe rejoin. So that's Tariq Adam after, well, I'm not going to disagree with that, because it was very, very aggressive from Tariq Adam. He was obviously raging, as we see, almost a little bit of contact here by Christian Fenter and Christian Deploy here. But wow, this is... I mean, this is what I don't understand, is that we had, like I said, about 10-15 minutes of inaction, drivers just circulating, and it's felt like this past 10 minutes here, it's just been chaos. It's just been drivers really, really fighting it out left, right and centre. Hang on a minute. I've also just noticed something here, Tapello. Luke Whitehead, that gap to George Boothby was 3.7 seconds. It's now 1.5 right now. George Boothby are on an absolute charge right now.
You know what? I saw it touch 1.9 and I thought maybe my eyes are playing games. I have been struggling with connection, so I thought, oh, here we go again, another issue. But it must be something that happened while we're focusing on something else. Either Luke Whitehead, I think Luke Whitehead had a moment. It's too big a gap to kind of just fall down.
Side?
I think so. I think so as well. I think he had a moment while we're focusing on other drivers, because like I said, I did see the time go down, but I thought it was on my side. But we've got a replay coming up of Tariq Adam, and I think it is going to be the unsafe. Yes, it is the unsafe rejoin. As you can see here, he had the moment with George Boothby. He went a bit wide, and as he came back to join, again, the third guy in the queue getting the best picture of what was happening. And we see there Tariq Adam just being so aggressive coming back, and I dare I say very lucky not to get a penalty from the stewards. They're being very lenient to just give a warning there, but in other instances that could genuinely be a penalty.
I think from my point of view as well, I think George might have been a little bit lucky on that as well, because he went for the move around the outside into the inner loop. And for me, again, I'm just commenting on the very, distant angle that I saw there. It did look like it just went wide and just sort of clipped into it here. What I love as well, though, is the fact that we have our broadcast producer in the background, and he always makes these really unusual noises whenever there's some chaos and carnage. Now, I think what we might be able to see is what's actually happened to Luke Whitehead here. So let's have a look. This is, he's definitely had damage. That front left of that car is totally different. This is coming into the inner loop here. Whoa! That's a big hit into that curb there. Good God almighty. That car is not going to be facing correctly. As Christian Deploy fighting out then with Christian Venter, the two of them absolutely going for it toe here, the Ferrari and the McLaren, and there's a little bit of contact, but it's fine because he totally meant to go in the pit window because it's open anyway. Bravo Christian Venter. That is the recovery drive of all recovery drives, my friends.
That is the best save we will see this season. Nothing comes close. That is pure action, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll tell you now, if you ever bump into Christian Venter, ask him about that. It was totally intentional. He meant to do that. He just thought, I'm going to save it. I'm going to time it perfectly. That's what he meant to do. That's the explanation for that situation.
Unbelievable scenes. It's like, what that? I totally meant that. It's absolutely nothing to see there. It's absolutely fine. And the thing is that won't cost him anywhere near as much time as it would have normally done, because he's actually still lost. He's actually gained a little bit more time as if he was to go in normally. Now, here's what we need to find out, because again, it's been ages since I've been on ACC. Excuse me. When you're going into the pit lane, if you don't go in, if you go over the white lines, I don't know if that gives you some sort of warning. We'll find out. I know it does in other sims, but I don't know. Obviously not for Christian Venter. So he's out of pit lane. He's got the pit stop done and dusted, as we see Reginald McLaney into the pits there for Noob Nation Pro. As Cody Sherritt still fighting for third position. Let's go and have a look at the replay then of that incident here, and what a recovery that was from our driver there. A little bit of a clip up the inside, and to be fair, it was his own fault, because he threw that car into the curb. It was always going to cause a collision there, and well, I still cannot believe he got away with that there.
Lick the stamp and send it, as they say. But I'm just looking at our pre-race communications. In terms of crossing the white line on pit entry, it is allowed on the circuit. It can get a bit tricky. The key is not to cross the line on pit exit. That's where you will be looking at a slam dunk penalty. So I think Christian Venter's right. He's fine. He's safe. Gave us probably the moment of the race so far. Some brilliant skill, some brilliant recovery. So let's see how he pulls through in the second part of this race for him, as we see a lot of drivers not having yet committed to the pit lane. I think they'll want to push and extend the first stint, maybe trying to attack in the second stint on fresher tires, create that offset. But so far so good for a lot of drivers. Luke Whitehead probably scratching the back of his head a bit, because George Boothby is getting closer, under a second now, 0.8 of a second behind Luke Whitehead. So Luke Whitehead looking back will see a mirror full of that beautifully adorned yellow and pink McLaren GT3.
Yeah, that thing is looking very, very banged up indeed. 51 minutes left to go in the race. Tariq Adam and Cody Sherritt starting to catch up hand over fist. That car is looking very sorry for itself. George Boothby now surely just a couple of laps away from actually stealing the lead of the race and crushing any dreams whatsoever. Giovanni Pozzuolo onto the back end there still of Abe Santima, as they're going to have to think about very shortly going into pit lane. Giovanni Porzio decides to jump into pit lane. Also, Dirty 20 Gaming saying that ACC does not penalise pit lane infringements, that would take live stewards. Absolutely. Like I said, I couldn't remember which it was. It must be iRacing then that does that automatically when when you either exceed the white line when you're on coming in or going out as well. You then get a penalty for that as well. I remember it was one of them. It would make sense it's iRacing because I've been doing a little bit more of that lately for myself. However, here comes George Boothby then, has already taken half a second off on that first quarter of the lap into the chute then, and that Lamborghini looking very fragile, very frail, very, very unsecure and unhappy with itself here at Watkins Glen. And this is George Boothby's race for the taking. This would be a championship run if he can get ahead, if he can get himself ahead of Luke Whitehead. That would be the perfect way, I think, here to Bello to end off this season, as Giovanni Porzio still making his way out of pit lane. Surely now we're going to have to start seeing some pit stops coming in thick and fast.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're at that point now where everyone is going to be looking, kind of looking with intent now. Do they come into the pit lane or do they go maybe an extra lap or two? But very interesting because we're not so sure, but we have seen a considerable decrease in pace from Luke Whitehead. If he is indeed carrying some damage, which I suspect he is, look, he won't be able to defend from George Boothby any much longer. But Tariq Adam comes into play because he is 3.5 seconds-ish behind. However, if he can usurp Luke Whitehead, that will also happen in the championship standings, where he will finish second in the championship. So it's not over for Tariq Adam as well. There's a lot to play for in this race.
Yeah, there we go. That's it, done and dusted. Luke Whitehead doesn't have anything left in the tank to fight that position. And again, McLaren, you get the feeling, is going to streak off into the sunset as it goes very, very wide. Out of the outer loop, Abe Santima into the pit lane then. There's 14 minutes left to go in the pit window. We're back to seeing Tariq Adam and Cody Sherritt. I think Sherritt will be really, really keen to get that third place from Tariq Adam. He's going to feel very hard done by after that incident that happened moments after the overtake from George Boothby here just now. But with 48 minutes left to go in the race, it's still Boothby from Whitehead, from Tariq Adam. That's your top three at the moment. Cody Sherritt in fourth, Luke Harrison in fifth position, Christian Deploy in sixth. Alexander Kuznetsov, as a result of all the pit stops, has now moved up into the top seven. Daniel Gottschalk in eighth position, Abe Santima in eighth, the first of the pit stop takers at the moment. Giovanni Porzio, Christian Fenter and Mittelini in last position just now. But Tepello, this has been not only an enjoyable race here tonight, but it's been an enjoyable season. We've had 12 or 11 and 3/4 fantastic races through this season. Obviously hoping that we get many more in the seasons ahead here, but I think this championship has done everything that it set out to be a fantastic showcase for what is a very, very passionate community.
Yeah, look, and before I answer, just keep in mind, this race seems to be intent on serving us a lot of action, so we might be interjecting ourselves and cutting because a lot seems to be happening on track in this race. But yeah, for sure, this season has lived up to its name. You know, the Kaizen Championship, as we've mentioned multiple times, numerous times throughout the season, the Japanese philosophy of Kaizen, which is about continuous improvement, and we've seen it. You know, if you were lucky enough to focus on a driver throughout the season, just kind of track their average positioning, their average race pace, you'll see that a lot of drivers have improved. We focused on Abe Santima at the beginning of this race, but so too the likes of Cody Sherritt, Christian Deploy, even Tariq Adam. Look, it's become kind of a norm now that we talk about Tariq Adam in the top three, but these are drivers we've seen steady improvement from them. I will also say you've probably heard steady improvement from me. As I've said it before, it's no secret, this is my first season of esports commentary, and I felt myself become more confident, more comfortable with learning as the season went on, with calling things as they happen live, as we see is that Tariq Adam going into the pits? Yes, it is. Tariq Adam has taken his pit stop as well. So I've gotten kind of enamored and become a master, dare I say, at the Japanese philosophy of Kaizen throughout this whole season. So lots to look forward to into the future. But as an inaugural season 1, getting everything started, I don't think we could have asked for any better.
No, I don't think we could have at all, and I think we've got everything that we could have possibly wanted from a fantastic first season with more to come. As we said, keep an eye towards the end of the broadcast tonight for details on Season 2, plus a little sneak peek and a bit of a chat with one of our awesome guys behind the scenes, aka Gareth Hawkins, the man that's pretty much single-handedly responsible for getting this thing off the ground, and always good to hear from Gareth. We'll have a chat with him on what he thinks about the season so far and what we can expect from Season 2. And then we've also got the draws to give away as well. We've got a Canis direct drive wheel to give away and a set of Canis pedals, as well as participation prizes for drivers that have taken part in at least 8 of the 12 rounds tonight, as well as cash prizes for our championship top 3 as well. So it really is all go tonight. We're now at that halfway point though, 45 minutes left to go. We've got 10 minutes left to go in the pit stop. This is Giovanni Portio then out of the pit lane, trying to catch up with Abe Santima at the moment, but again not able to do it. So they are picking up where they left off just now. Luke Addison, as we saw earlier on, has been kind of thrown backwards, and Abe Santima getting a 5-second penalty right now. So that is that's a monstrous blow, because that's going to drop him very likely down into around about 8th position, as Cody Sherritt and Christian Deploy have jumped into the pit lane as well. And it'll be interesting to see where they come out as well. But Luke Whitehead now 1.9 seconds behind George Boothby, and realistically here, Tapello, George Boothby now 2 seconds ahead, Luke Whitehead behind. It's almost certainly that this is done and dusted. But for the most part, again, apart from the fact that we've got a 5-second penalty for car 8 for not following the pit entry rules, George Boothby, this is now just an exhibition race for him.
This is, through lack of a better phrase, this is kicking a horse while it's down. Luke Whitehead had the massive incident, probably championship defining incident if you want to put it into scale, and George Boothby got ahead, and now he's just streaking ahead, trying to be as comfortable, showing the pace that he's had throughout the latter part of the season, but just showing how tenacious he is and how headstrong he is to pick up scraps and just kind of maximize on whatever's happening on track. So that's a brilliant display from him. Sometimes that's all you want. You just want to run your race as well as you can with your race pace, kind of ignoring everything that happens and let the race come to you, as we see George Boothby and Luke Whitehead finally in the pit lane, and that will be the last of the cars that still has to do their mandatory pit stop. So again, fantastic driving all season. And look, go back 3-4 rounds, you would not be seeing this happening. Luke Whitehead at a point looked so comfortable in the lead of the championship. Yes, George Boothby was there or thereabouts, but that switch up, the consistency in George Boothby, the way he's kind of, dare I say, improved on his own driving, improved on his qualifying, improved on just how he manages races. That's why he's in the position he's in today. It's an impressive turn of events, an impressive improvement, and what a joy it's been to watch him kind of close out the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship in the way that he has.
And he really has done it in such a spectacular fashion as well. Remember, Luke Whitehead, for the majority of the season, up until around about round 8, was looking to be running away with things, and then missed a couple of rounds, and then suddenly it all turned around to George Boothby's favour here, and he's kind of taken advantage of that and never really looked back since there. But with about, 6 minutes left to go in the pit stop window. That is all of the cars in and done for their pit stops just now. Cody Sherritt still in that third position. So that is a big turn of events as well here now. That's actually something that I didn't pick up on. Hell of an undercut there for Cody Sherritt. He was fighting with Tariq Azam to get that third position, but I didn't notice there, Tapello, that he got it done in the pit stop stages there. He got it done handsomely as well, 1.5 seconds ahead there, as Giovanni Portio that we're watching here still trying to catch on to Abe Santima. But realistically now, Portio is going to have that 5th position once that 5-second penalty comes through.
Yeah, and now the question comes along, right? If you're Giovanni Portio in this position, you have to ask yourself, am I comfortable sitting behind and waiting for the 5-second penalty to take effect, or do I rather just want to control the pace for myself, get the overtake done, and kind of, dare I say, streak away? So that's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out, as we're currently focused on Christian Venter and Christian Duploy, two guys that have been running side by side, nose to tail throughout this whole race. They've kept it clean. You know, there has been some argy-bargy, a few incidents to mention, but overall, this is kind of how they've been throughout the whole season. They've found themselves sharing the same piece of tarmac most of the season, and depending on who had the better pace in the race, we've seen them kind of chop and change position, hold when necessary, speed up when necessary, but this has been them. They've been clean with each other. They've been very much respectful with each other, and they've been good ambassadors for the Genisus Esports racing team about just how to go about business on circuit and during the race, and ultimately over a whole season.
Yeah. And on that note then, that is pretty much how it's going to go down. Now, what I'm wondering here is the fact that Luke Whitehead slowly starting to actually catch up on your race leader here, George Boothby. I wonder if that is just managing the pace there from George Boothby. We know that Luke has got quite a bit of damage. There's almost certainly that he's not going to have had any time to get that damage repaired, because that was a hell of a hit into the barrier. But meanwhile, Cody Sherritt, actually, here we go. This could be a little bit interesting then. What does Sherritt have in the tank? Because realistically, he could actually get himself up into the 2nd position here, with Tariq Azam actually falling back a little bit. Tyres, I wouldn't have thought would be too much of an issue in a 90-minute race. They might scrub up towards the end of maybe 60 minutes, but I can't imagine they're going to go off too much here. But either way, that is by the by. This is what we've got to kind of work with just now. Just under 40 minutes left to go in this race, and Whitehead looks like a bit of a sitting duck right now, because that gap was 1.1. It's now 9/10 of a second here. So again, that's coming down very, very quickly indeed. And here comes Christian Duploy and Christian Venter fighting it out again. They're still going toe-to-toe here, and again, it's just a case of who comes out on top here. Fascinating fight going on here, and again, it's up to anyone right now as to how this all unfolds. But for me, I think Cody Sherritt here, Tapello, has a real strong chance of taking 2nd place right now.
Huge, immense chance for him. And I'm gonna irritate our producer that every time Cody Sherritt gets on screen, he should start playing the Jaws theme, you know, that dum 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 dum, because that is how it's looking every time we pan to him. He's so close to Luke Whitehead, and as we've mentioned, the damage to Luke Whitehead is very noticeable at this point. His pace has fallen off completely. It did look like he was kind of maintaining pace, but such is the speed of Cody Sherritt behind, that 37 minutes to defend with that kind of pace differential, that's, if ever there was a mission impossible, it is what Luke Whitehead is having to do in this race for the next 37 minutes. But as we focus here on screen, the battle ongoing once again between Christian Venter and Christian Duploy, and a brilliant exit, from Christian Duploy just to set himself up. You know, what a brilliant exit. And I've spoken about this as I did the onboard, that it's sometimes so tricky to get the traction right in these long corners, because the car will snap on you as you see them go side by side. Keeping it clean, a bit of contact there, a bit of contact, nothing major, contact again, but Christian Duploy getting ahead of Christian Venter. So again, the clean driving for what it's worth, but very, very interesting to see just how these drivers' positions and their strengths are coming about. But what a brilliant exit from Christian Deploy to set up that move, just showing that not all overtakes have to be in the braking zone, they can be at the traction exit zones of corners as well.
There we go then, that is a fantastic move done and dusted. Christian Deploy moves up into P8, and you get the feeling that that might be the last position that the number 5 Ferrari is going to be taken there, because Luke Harrison is 7 seconds up the road. Can't see that one happening. Meanwhile, one thing that I can see happening, as I said, Cody Sherritt now right onto the tail of Luke Whitehead just now. As you go picture in picture, you can see from the tail end of Luke Whitehead there, that Lamborghini looking resplendent in the summer sunshine here at Watkins Glen. Of course, the virtual track that we're racing on this afternoon. Clear blue skies, clouds, patchy clouds, and nice warm track temperature as well. 35 minutes left to go here, and Cody Sherritt again firmly locked onto the tail end of that Lamborghini. You were saying about having that Jaws music for Deploy and for Fenter. I think that's exactly what you need to have here for Cody Sherritt and for... yeah, exactly it. We need to get the old Jaws music going on here, because it does look like a very, very patient tail here for Cody Sherritt, who's done so well in just biding his time, just waiting very, very patiently here. I wonder if he's going to try and force Luke Whitehead into a mistake here, but we both know that Luke's very unlikely to make a mistake. He says, trying to glaze over the fact that the reason that Luke Whitehead's not in the lead of this race anymore is because Luke Whitehead made the mistake and spanked it into the wall there. Again, going very, very wide here. I can't help but feeling that Luke is trying to push the car as best he can, but there's not much left to go in that thing.
Yeah, and I think that becomes the biggest challenge as a driver, in that if you know you've got a pace differential, whether that's because you're naturally slower or whether you have damage like we know with Luke Whitehead currently, is you start to overdrive the car, and that comes with its own problems. You start to make mistakes, you start to chew up your tires. So yes, he might be surviving now, but having to overdrive the car for the next 33 minutes, you'll start to see him fall off massively in the last 5 minutes left of the race. So it is a very difficult situation to be in as a driver. I've done races as well where I've been carrying damage, and it's a very tricky thing, because there are moments in the race where you can work around the damage you have and you can kind of maintain pace, but then you just start to fall off, and especially when you're under pressure, as we see Cody Sherritt twitching there. Again, in those long corners, these cars will try and rotate on you, so it's something you have to be very wary of as a driver. But just going back to point, it is very difficult to try and find a balance between trying to maintain a pace when you have damage, because the damage just makes it so much more difficult to be consistent, and that's why you will see fluctuations. You will see Luke Whitehead kind of have the pace that he needs to hold off Cody Sherritt, but then you'll see him drop off and you'll see Cody Sherritt come closer. So that's what causes those fluctuations. It's the inconsistency in performance of the car because of the damage that he has sustained in that massive moment.
Yeah, the other question I've got as well here to Pillow is Tariq Adam right now down there in 4th position, given that he is now 3.6 seconds off of this fight here. My question is, is he managing his tyres right now, or has he absolutely burned through them at such an early stage of the race that he's really struggling to get any sort of pace right now? Because that's what we're seeing from Cody Sherritt. He was onto the back end here of Luke Whitehead. The other thing is as well is, has Luke Whitehead just absolutely found another gear here? Because George Boothby now was 1.7 seconds ahead here, and he's 1.1 seconds ahead now. So that gap coming down again between the two of them. So very, very peculiar things here. Do we think that George Boothby might have a problem here? Because that gap looks like it's well and truly under a second now.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky because I just spoken about the fluctuations in pace for someone who's driving with damage, but Luke Whitehead seems to be very consistent and kind of settled at this stage in the race. So you have to start thinking that perhaps the issue is with George Boothby. Has he perhaps maybe gone down into management mode as well, trying to conserve the tires, as what we suspect is going on with Tariq Adam as well? Because throughout this whole season, we've seen Tariq be one of these strong finishers on the grid, especially after that pit stop. Doing the second stint, he's looked very solid. So it is kind of surprising to see him so slow. Perhaps maybe you are right, he's conserving his tires, maybe looking to push properly in the last 20 minutes or so. But it's also very interesting at the front as we see the gap now between George Boothby and Luke Whitehead at 1.3 seconds. So there or thereabout, but it will be very interesting to see how that gap develops over the next maybe 3-4 laps, just to see where exactly is the problem. Is it because George Boothby is managing his tires, or is he also struggling perhaps maybe with tire wear, or just struggling to find his pace to do what he needs currently?
Yeah, I think whatever it is has kind of sorted itself out, because Whitehead now kind of dropping back to about 1.2, 1.3 seconds here. So it could very well just be George Boothby is managing the pace with these two. The problem that I've got with that is that it's a little bit too close for comfort here. Anything that's under 2 seconds here feels a little bit scary in terms of the ability for Luke Whitehead to be able to make a charge and to try and take that position back there. But as I say, I think that will go to about 1.5 seconds, and Cody Sherritt is going to be able to catch up a little bit quicker onto the tail end of Luke Whitehead just now as they come across the line. Start lap number 34 then, as we have got half an hour left to go in this race. 1.3 seconds is the gap between George Boothby and Luke Whitehead, and that is about identical as to the difference between Luke Whitehead and Cody Sherritt as well. First to second, and then second to third as well. Tariq Adam in fourth, Abe Santima in fifth position, but again will lose out at least 2 positions there with that 5-second penalty based on how things are at the moment. Giovanni Portillo in 6th position, Luke Addison in 7th, Christian Deploy in 8th with Christian Fenter, in 9th Alexander Kuznetsov, in 10th Daniel Gottschalk in 11th position, and then Mitteldani in 12th position. But we did see a bit of a moment there for Cody Sherritt. That was a wild moment there for Cody Sherritt, who has now dropped off around about 2.5 seconds behind there. I think he's now about 1.5 seconds now ahead of Tariq Adam. So that was a big moment there for Cody Sherritt. Be very interested to see what on earth happened there. Yeah, there you go, 3 seconds there. So now Luke Whitehead still on the tail end there, but again it just shows you here, Tapello, even at the final half hour of this race, when you've got Cody Sherritt looking like he's so happy to kind of keep running with them, but also on top of that, Tariq Adam dropping back very, very quickly as well here. I wonder, maybe could this be the McLaren starting to eat through their tyres a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility at this point. You know, it's like I said, it's kind of been a while since we had a 90-minute race, and look, Watkins Glen serves up its own bag of tricks. It's very easy to chew up tires on the circuit, you know, because you have fast corners like the S's where you're kind of leaning on the fronts and kind of asking them to do a lot, but you also have these slower corners like turn 7, turn 8, where you're relying a lot on the grip given by the rear tires. So that could be something that's coming into play as we see some drivers losing pace, some drivers gaining pace. But I'm hearing in my ear that we've got a replay coming up. That is Cody Sherritt again going over the curbs, touching the grass, going wide as well. Very lucky not to pull a Luke Whitehead by going too wide and slamming into the wall, but that is definitely where he lost about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds in his race so far. Those incidents happen. You have to start to question now, is it generally just the way the race has turned out, or is it also the fatigue of the drivers? Because we've had a very long season, and as we saw, we had about a gap of 15-20 minutes where everything was happening in this race. Everything in terms of defending, attacking, passing, contact, that can take it out of you mentally. You do tire when you kind of survive those kind of instances in a race. So that could be a reason where you start to see such instances. As right now on track, we are following on board with Luke Addison as he follows Giovanni Portio. As you can see, Luke Addison doing something very interesting. You tend to see this a lot from drivers that are following very close, is just to go slightly wider than the car in front. Not only does that allow you to get a better view of the track, but it just allows you to get out of the slipstream, especially in braking zones, so that you can just better position yourself and use this. What you're seeing now is just to get the slingshot effect out of the corners, looking for a move. I don't think he's close enough. Tucks back into the slipstream to go down into turn 1 here, but this is very interesting. I think the slipstream and the slingshot effect should take effect coming out of the S's for Luke Addison. Let's see how he takes turn 3. Hopefully he doesn't lose too much. He's looking very good into turn 4. This could be a move heading into the bus stop or the inner loop, whichever one you want to call it. Let's see, he's got the inside line. Will he be brave on the brakes? No, he backs out really early, just tries to take the curbs as comfortably as possible, keeping within track limits. But as you see, just by giving that inch of space to Giovanni Portio has just extended the lead slightly, just to make himself a tad more comfortable heading out of that inner loop into the outer loop, David.
Yeah, and on top of that as well, momentum's such a key thing here at all of the tracks here, such as level of performance, such as level of skill that we're talking about here with all of the drivers. But also on top of that, Luke Harrison's going to want to make sure, or damn sure, that any move that he's going to make on Giovanni Portio is going to be sticking before he even attempts to make that happen. Mostly because you don't want the embarrassment of having anything bad happening between you and a teammate, let alone in the final race of the season. It's just not the done thing. And great to see that Luke Harrison and Giovanni Portio are far, far above that type of thing happening. Watch us cut back to it in the 10 minutes where they're both upside down in a mangled wreck. But that's kind of by the by here just now. What I'm liking is the fact here that it could genuinely be a move coming up very quickly into the S's here, because if Luke can get that car slowed down, get it into the 90, get a good run out just like he's done here, if we can go on board here with Luke Harrison, this could be it already done. As we go up through the 90, have to be a little bit later onto the accelerator here. Goes to the right hand side before you've even got a chance to defend it. That's going to be the move done and dusted for Luke Addison on Giovanni Portio. Portio's going to try and go around the outside, but it's already done before we get into the inner loop here. And there we go, up to P6 then. Luke Addison will be very, very happy with that one. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that is probably going to be our final action of the race, because Luke Whitehead now over 2 seconds behind George Boothby. Cody Sherritt is now 3 seconds behind Luke Whitehead, and Tariq Adam is now nearly 4 seconds behind Cody Sherritt. So up in front, you've got Abson Timmins about 1.5 seconds behind, in front of Luke Addison. That might come down, but realistically, it's one of those weird points as a commentator where you got so excited at something happening out of nothing, and then just as quickly as we get something here, it looks to have almost fizzled away again.
Yeah, but look, this is one of those moments where we start to talk about anything other than the race, because it's kind of settling down, and it's very tricky as a commentator. Look, I've learned it and I've experienced it this season, in that whenever there's a lull in what is happening on circuit, whenever there's kind of a settled down period, everyone's holding position, there's maybe a second and a half gap between the drivers, you kind of need to add something to it. And normally when this happens, if you're watching, I watch Formula 1, I watch DTM, I watch all these kind of race series, what you do with friends is you have conversations about anything and anything other than the race. You'll talk about movies, you'll talk about school, sports, whatever. But as a commentator, you kind of need to keep the focus on the race. And it's a very tricky thing sometimes, because it's like, what do I say? Do I create up a story? Do I create up, a narrative of something that might happen, which will probably never happen? So it's a very tricky thing as a commentator, but therein lies the skill. Therein lies the key, the KPI of being a commentator is finding a way to make those lulls in transmission, those lulls in the race, as interesting as possible for the viewer, but as interesting as possible for you as well, because it is the commentating that keeps you engrossed in the story, and that allows the viewers just to follow on and see what's happening, as we see a Twitch in the background for Luke Whitehead. So still trying to push and maximize his pace and position, but don't want to do that too many times, because one snap here, one snap there, and you will kiss the wall again.
And I'm just trying to fathom those profound words from Tapelo Marioli there, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently it's our job to make things interesting. I've been exposed for the sham that I am trying to keep it interesting. It's the thing is, though, all joking aside, I always find moments like this fascinating, because I always find like the ebb and the flow very, very interesting, because you can't have one without the other. You've got to have all of that action to have a sort of lull in the action, so to speak, here. And it's always really interesting, because as much as it comes very quickly when it's all very, very quiet, like I said, it can very, very quickly go the other way as well, and that's exactly what it looks like we're having here with Santima, who's coming under renewed pressure here from Giovanni Portio and Luke Addison. So Luke Addison getting past Portio, 1.2 seconds up the road here. Next target, next victim, you've got to say, is going to be Abe Santima. And again, this doesn't really count. This is not really a fair battle on track here, because Santima has got that 5-second penalty just now as we enter the final 20 minutes of the season here for the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. And being asked why Beamerstein, who has joined us in the chat, has not decided to join us on track tonight. Of course, we've got that participation draw that we've got going on. We'll be getting that done at the end of the race as well, after we do our top 3 interviews here. But here we go then, Abe Santima having a little bit of a wiggle coming through that left-hander here. That's going to hand things on a plate right now to Luke Addison, who lines everything up into that final corner here. And surely Addison is going to be trying to take that 6th position away at the end of the start-finish straight here. You can see on the picture-in-picture we're on board with Luke Addison. Has a little look around. Is it going to be into late braking? Tried to think of it there, but Santima taking a little bit too much power there. In fact, if anything, that's actually Santima's corner, so I'm going to stand corrected on that. That was a beautiful, beautiful bit of defence there from Abe Santima there, Tapelo.
Yeah, look, again, these drivers are so good, and we've spoken about this season already, and we're seeing it again. These drivers are so good at kind of staying switched on, staying in the race. Look, pulling out a defensive maneuver, 18 minutes left in a 90-minute race after 12 rounds, 11 rounds of a season in the last round, and you still got the mental fortitude and the mental strength to kind of see your way around the circuit, positive lines, how to defend. This is genuinely impressive. And look, again, going against my words here as a commentator, trying to keep everything exciting, but in recent memory, some of the best races that I've seen, or the best races that I've enjoyed, have been races, hold on for a bit, as we see Alexander Kuznetsov getting that move done on David Gottschalk. Again, very impressive, very impressive. A bit forceful, keeping his elbows out there, but sometimes, we've spoken about it, that's what you have to do, kind of force a move. And you see he's looking comfortable already, trying to extend his gap, coming into the bus stop here. Let's see how it goes over the curbs. Holding fairly well, gets a good exit, follows a good line. That should be 10th place, a 10th position, fairly held for Alexander Kuznetsov, as we continue to go back to Luke Addison in his never-ending battle with Giovanni Portio and Abe Santima. Again, interesting thing that I've been thinking about, because I've seen this happen in multiple racing series where drivers carrying a 5-second penalty is, look, I think he's fairly comfortable in this instance, but what tends to happen is you're going to lose the position anyway when the 5-second penalty is applied. So sometimes it can be a good decision just to let these two drivers get past you, so you're not slowing them down, and then you can just piggyback off them and go faster in the race, because the more you keep them behind, the more drivers in the back catch up, and then they fall within that 5-second window. So perhaps an interesting choice, or a difficult choice that Abe Santima must make, is probably to let Giovanni Portio and Luke Addison by, and then just follow them, because ultimately he's still going to lose the position to them anyway.
100% on that, because obviously it's that whole thing that we've been speaking about, Tapello, about swings and roundabouts, about, you know, if you have to be trying to go for it, you need to make sure it sticks. But with Santima having that 5-second penalty here, what Luke Addison doesn't want is to be caught up behind this, because the last thing then you want is Christian Deploy to get brought into this as well, whereas realistically now Abe Santima could actually very shortly find himself down in 8th position once this race is done and dusted. But surely this is going to be it now. Luke Addison gets the run out of that final corner here, gets the run onto the McLaren in front, as Santima just moves over, blocks that car, as that was a beautiful bit of defensive driving. Luke Addison trying to go around the outside at the 90 though. Fantastic stuff here, and here comes Giovanni Portio in as well, but it's amazing defensive driving there from Abe Santima. Take a bow, nerves of steel on that car there. McLaren just holds it out nice and wide, keeps it on the inside, keeps the foot in, and that is going to be done and dusted. But here comes Giovanni Portio in for it as well. Also, we'll keep an eye on Cody Sherritt, because he's now within a second of Luke Whitehead again, so that could be coming to a head very shortly here just now, as Luke Addison takes so much speed in through that outer loop here, and this is all bubbling over very nicely indeed. Do you remember 5 minutes ago when I said it was starting to get a little bit quieter now? You can safely forget all of that here just now, ladies and gentlemen. This is a thrilling end to the races. Reginald Mullaney comes out of pit lane. I'll guarantee that's that's going to be a stop-go penalty, I would imagine, because it did look like he went a little bit wide here. As Kuznetsov under pressure again from Daniel Gottschalk. Beautiful defensive driving. What is going on? We were saying about how quiet it was now, and suddenly everybody is again taking the pugil sticks to each other here, Tapello.
Look, if you're on social media, everyone knows the Usher meme of "watch this." I think that's what's happening. We call the race, and all the drivers just said to us, "Hey, yo, watch this. We're going to do something right about now." And that's very interesting. The way a race can kind of just keep quiet and wake up again, as we see Alexander Kuznetsov and David Gottschalk again going for it in the inner loop. Very interesting in the way these drivers are going for it, as we see once again Abe Santima defending from Luke Addison. I tell you what, I don't think there's been a wider McLaren in the world of racing than the one Abe Santima is currently driving, because he's positioning that car and making it as wide as possible in a track that is very wide, but he's just gating every effort from Luke Addison, and he's making it so difficult for Luke Addison to get by, and that is bringing into play Giovanni Portio, who has the, I guess, premium seat to see what happens here, because should Abe Santima and Luke Addison make a mistake and go wide, he will capitalize on that. As we change once again, a bit of contact between Daniel Gottschalk and Alexander Kuznetsov, and Daniel Gottschalk is through, but as we see Luke Addison one more time trying around the outside, a bit of a twitch there, so well held, almost losing it there. Again, action galore. We're splitting our eyes, we're looking up, looking down, switching screens. Ladies and gentlemen, the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship does not want to let up. 12.5 minutes to go, and we've got action happening all around the circuit.
I've got to be honest, I'm absolutely delighted for this. What a fantastic way to send off the season here for the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship by just absolute mayhem. This fight, that I'm loving this, for 10th position between Kuznetsov and Daniel Gottschalk, is the fact that, you know, even outside the top 10, and they're still fighting for it like there's a race win that depends on this just now. Fantastic fighting here, but this is nuts. This is all built up very quickly. Here comes into the inside. Luke Addison can't quite make it happen. Cody Sherritt now 0.4 of a second behind Luke Whitehead here with just 11 minutes left to go in this final round of a 12-round sensational championship here just now. George Boothby out in the lead by 4.2 seconds just now. There is Cody Sherritt straight onto the back end of Luke Whitehead. However, I get a feeling that we're going to have to go and have a look at Santima, Addison and Portio as well just now, because those are coming into the inner loop and into the outer loop here again with just around about 5 laps left to go in this race. Your race leader has already exited the boot onto the boot here. And this is just absolutely scintillating stuff, as second and third are pretty much nose to tail out on the track, and so are 5th, 6th and 7th at the moment. You can see Tariq Adam kind of just having to do his own thing and circulate in the background at this point in time. But with just over 10 minutes left to go here to Pello, it's difficult for our broadcast producer to know where to look right now. You've got Luke Whitehead, Cody Sherritt going on. You've got Abe Santima fighting Luke Addison and Giovanni Portio. I guess you must feel a little bit frustrated if you're Tariq Adam. You're kind of in no man's land. You're losing time to the fight in front. You're also thankfully gaining on that fight behind here. But I mean, at what point is enough, do you think, for the likes of Luke Addison here?
Look, you're definitely right. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't hear this, but we have one of the funniest producers who says the most random lines in our ears, and he gets us slipping on ourselves sometimes. But you're definitely right. It's such a tricky thing, like for Tariq Adam, because you can see the battles in the distance, but you just do not have the pace at this moment to include yourself in those kind of battles. So it can be frustrating running in no man's land, and we've spoken about this already throughout the season, in that how difficult it can be to gauge your own pace if you're not close to someone, because oftentimes it happens that if you're chasing someone, you're better equipped, or you can kind of gauge your own race better because you're close to people. But when you're alone, you lose a lot of pace, and that can be disastrous for your overall race. But for drivers like Luke Addison and Giovanni Portio, a move is a move, and a move needs to happen. They're putting tremendous pressure on Abe Santima, who, look, kudos to him as well, because he's defending like a pro. He's not letting any opportunity get by to position that McLaren where it needs to be on the inside line. As you see one more time, he's still holding that line. And like I said, he's driving like a guy who does not have a 5-second penalty that's going to take effect. He's driving as if this position will count. And again, maybe that is the pride side of sim racing, in that a result is hard earned on track. Penalties will come about, but your position on track and how you finish, that's the true reflection of your performance, your capabilities as a driver. And we can see Abe Santima still holding on to that 5th position. But still worth mentioning, ladies and gentlemen, Cody Sherritt is still within 3/10 of Luke Whitehead, as we see at the end Giovanni Portio just going sideways, and now Cody Sherritt falling slightly behind. It's 1 second the gap between him and Luke Whitehead, so probably he had a snap somewhere on track, just trying to push his number 9 Ferrari as close as he can to the 55 Lamborghini of Luke Whitehead. Again, sometimes when you push, you start to overdrive and you make those mistakes, so it will take him a bit of time to kind of eat away at that gap to Luke Whitehead. But time is running out as we are left to 7.5 minutes of this race, ladies and gentlemen, and the action is not letting up, particularly between position 5, 6 and 7 between Abe Santima and Luke Addison. You see Giovanni Portio falling slightly back, is 8.5 tenths behind, but that's a gap that he can close by really quickly. Can be done in the braking zone, where he just maximizes his corner entry, midpoint and exit. So David, action galore. Where do you keep your eyes in a race like this?
On stocks at the back of your head, because Luke Addison is just throwing everything in the kitchen sink at Abe Santima, and Santima's just like, oh yeah, cool, right, I'm just going to do my own thing anyway, and putting that McLaren exactly where it needs to be to keep on to that 5th position right now. 6 3/4 minutes left to go in the final rounds of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. It's George Whitby out in the lead by 5.2 seconds ahead of Luke Whitehead, who is fighting for his life at the moment. Cody Sherritt in that third position, half a second there, but you've got to say Sherritt not really able to make any sort of move on Whitehead right now. Whitehead doing everything that he needs to, as we are absolutely engaged with that battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Here is Cody Sherritt though. Again, a new lease of life for the Ferrari, maybe now finally able to get right back onto the tail end of the Lamborghini, pushing as hard as he can here, but still not able to actually do anything with this in the final 6 minutes of what has been a captivating final race here. 90 minutes around Watkins Glen, and we have loved every single minute of it. It's given us tons and tons of value for money tonight, and again, just could not have asked for more here in the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship final round. I think it'll be smiles all round for all of the drivers taking part in this. Cody Sherritt, a little bit of hesitation there. You can see the car wiggling there under braking there. He catches right back up to Luke Whitehead again, but again, nothing to be doing. Abe Santima though, again still holding on to that position. Luke Addison's half a second behind there. Giovanni Pozio is half a second behind Luke Addison just now, as your second and third place cars coming through that final corner there. A little bit of a clip on the wall there for Cody Sherritt. That's going to lose him a little bit of time as they go across the line there. You can see that gap start to open up now, almost half a second. There is Tariq Adam in the middle of no man's land, in the middle of nowhere, with 5 minutes left to go. He is 5 seconds behind Cody Sherritt, and he's about 10 seconds ahead of Abe Santima just now. But here we go back to this battle then for 5th, 6th, 7th position just now. Luke Addison does desperately want to get this, but you get the feeling if he was going to make this happen, it would have been about 5 laps ago when all that pressure was there, because Santima's got his number. He knows exactly where Luke Addison is going to try and push. He knows exactly when Luke Addison is going to try and push. So again, having done this lap after lap after lap, it's trained behaviour for Abe Santima that he's able to defend with that McLaren and put it exactly where that Ferrari wants to be. But 4 minutes left to go in the race. George Whitby in the lead, Luke Whitehead in second place, Cody Sherritt in third. Do we think that we've got enough in the tank for any overtakes here just now? It looks here to Pello like, again, as much as the drivers would love to change it here, I think that Luke Whitehead has the measure of Cody Sherritt, and I think that Abe Santima has the measure of Luke Addison here.
I'm going to ask you, David, is that an attempt at the commentator's curse to try and get one more overtake before the end of this race? Because
no,
you've seen so far,
I'd say Kuznetsov and Gottschalk, because then at least it's kind of for 10th position, so we can have that going on. But no, I mean, for me personally, I don't know. I just like, I'm watching this battle with Santima and Addison, and I'm like, well, what more can Addison do? Santima just knows exactly where to put his car to keep that from happening. Whereas with Whitehead, I think that Whitehead has got a faster car underneath him than Sherritt. Even with that damage, Sherritt can catch up to him, but I think Whitehead might be managing this race just now.
In the words of the late great Murray Walker, it's one thing to catch a driver, it's another thing to pass them. And that's what we're seeing, particularly between Cody Sherritt and Luke Whitehead. As we look at the gap now, it's under 2.5 tenths between Whitehead and Sherritt. So catching him, Sherritt catching Whitehead is doable, and he's done it multiple times, but it's actually forcing the move and getting the overtake done that's proving to be the issue. On my end, I would like to give the stewards 2.5 minutes of a break. They can take a restroom break, just so we can have a derby. They'll come back and there'll be some carnage, because I think right now a lot of the drivers are trying everything they can do, and the only reason they're not crashing into each other is because the stewards are keeping their eyes on this race. But yeah, there's nothing that drivers like Cody Sherritt, Luke Addison, Giovanni Pozio can do.
No, and you're absolutely spot on. It's a case of they've thrown everything at the wall, tried to see what could stick. And it's not happened as, oh my God, Cody Sherritt gets it all wrong at the final corner. Sends it into the wall, and that is a brutal, albeit virtual accident. But Cody Sherritt, that car, if that thing manages to finish this race, I would be very surprised. That thing is done, dusted, toasted. It's into the garage, and Cody Sherritt is about to retire from the race from what was a certain third position. Heartbreak, tears, and drama here in the final rounds of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Cody Sherritt retiring from third position. That promotes Tariq Adam up into P3. That promotes Luke Addison to P4 and Giovanni Porzio to P5 when all is said and done. And I hate to say it, but I think that Christian Duploy is going to get ahead of Abe Santima as well, because with all this fighting, Duploy has been brought in to that fight as well. So Santima dropping down when he gets that 5-second penalty at the end of the race here. I think he's going to drop down to 8th position. Meanwhile, this could be it. Lap number 50 for George Boothby. As we've got 30 seconds left to go, let's see if this is the final lap of the race.
Yeah, look, fairly interesting. You've got to feel for Cody Sherritt. That's you hate to see that, but from a driver's perspective, if he was on a controller, yeah, it would have made a big hole in front of his monitor there for sure. But as we see George Boothby running out the final corner, will it be the last lap? I think he was a bit too quick. Nope. Stops before the line. He timed that perfectly. Perfectly done. Thank you so much, George Boothby. Well played, sir. Luke Whitehead. Fantastic defending. Really coming back in this race when we thought he was out. Tremendous damage that he was carrying throughout this race. But brilliantly done to finish P2. Tariq Adam getting extremely lucky with the crash by Cody Sherritt to finish P3 in a race where he didn't look at his best. Kind of struggled to get onto the pace so far. Abe Santima finishing 4th, but the 5-second time penalty will take effect, and that will promote Luke Addison, Giovanni Porzio, and Christian Duploy just to have them jump Abe Santima in the final race classification. What a race we've had so far. Action, penalties, crashes, mistakes, overtakes, change of position. What a race, what a season. Kaizen at its absolute best, David.
What a brilliant way to end out the season. And coincidentally, the top 3 that we're going to be having a chat to are the top 3 in the championship. So there we go. George Boothby taking the win. It's then a fantastic second place there. Very lucky second place, you've got to say, given that contact for Luke Whitehead. And then Tariq Adam into 3rd position as well. So while we wait for the drivers to head into the waiting room to have a chat, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. We hope you all enjoyed that fantastic championship. We've got more to tell you very shortly. As soon as we're done the driver interviews, then we'll talk a little bit about season 2, but we'll also reveal and do our grand draw for our participation prizes as well. Remember, there is a steering wheel up for grabs, C5, Camus C5 DD wheel, and an LC100 set of pedals as well. Or they can choose for what's in the box, which is $200 as a cash prize instead. But in the meantime, let's go and have a chat to our drivers then. And it's a very warm welcome to your season champion, to George Boothby. Well done, George. Great race there. And congratulations on the championship.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm super happy with it. Obviously, I knew Luke missed an extra round, but I think I got enough points to sort of also cover that round, so it doesn't feel like a cheap win, if you know what I mean. But no, I'm super happy with that race. I went into that. I've done like a 6-hour endurance earlier, so I'm really tired, a little rusty with the track. So quality didn't really go my way at all, and I was just worried about the race. Like, can I keep up? Are they always going to drop me? But then I just got into the groove. This track is all about rhythm and like confidence of the car, because it's just so many fast corners, big curbs, and one corner after another. So, after following Tariq for a little bit, I sort of basically learned from him. And then I was able to just, like, keep the tires in the window. I managed to get an overtake. Great freaking overtake as well. Like, he was so clean with me, and, like, it was just awesome. I hope you guys saw that on the broadcast. And then, yeah, Luke died on tires a bit, and I think he hit a wall, someone in my chat said. So I just thought, I'm closing in. Let's just see what I can do. And yeah, his tires just died, so we cruised past him, to be honest. And the second stint, he was near me, but I was just sort of managing the gap a bit, and then his tires went off again, and I pulled away. So yeah, it was it was a very, very stressful start to the race, but also really, really fun. And I'm glad I was able to just sort of, like, keep it under control for the end. Super happy.
Right, because of course it was a big monster hit we saw on the stream that Luke actually had coming out of the inner loop. The rear quarter of the car sent up into the air there, and it was at that point where you were able to actually stroll in. The thing with that though, George, obviously looking back on what has been an incredible season for yourself here, are you going to be coming back for season 2, do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, this was really, really fun. There's, like, prizes on the line, which obviously, is super, a great incentive. And then also, all the drivers are super clean. Like, the whole community is really nice, and it also gives you practice for LFM Pro Series. So it's like, it's awesome. For me, this is like perfect. Like, so if this goes ahead again, I'm all in. Definitely all in.
Perfect. Look, George, Tabello here. Fantastic result. Fantastic driving throughout the whole season. I just want to ask, because I think this is always the toughest thing to get across to people that are watching racing. As a driver, how do you adapt to 12 different tracks, different conditions, different drivers, peaking, troughs? How do you get your mind ready to conquer all those different scenarios?
I mean, I just sort of, because I'm in quite a lot of different series, and I'm like, streaming is like my job doing this game, right? So I'm like on it pretty much, like, for quite a few hours each day, most weeks. So I sort of have all the tracks, in my memory. I'm getting a bit older than some of my competitors, so maybe it takes me a few extra to get into the zone. Maybe that's what struggled tonight in qualifying. I don't know, but it's all up there. It's just about extracting it, I guess. And yeah, like, there's some tracks that I feel like I'm better at than others. There's some tracks that I really struggle with, but it's just about putting the practice in, and like, anyone can get there, with the practice. If I was to just jump in right now, even though I've driven this track 100 times before, right? If I was to just jump on right now with zero practice, it would really be bad. Like, it would take me at least half the race until I'm, like, feeling comfortable. So it's just about, spending a little bit of time to just get some practice in, get comfortable with each car track combo, and then go out and do the business.
Awesome. Well, George, thank you so much for coming and joining us throughout the season. You've been an absolute pleasure, as always. Just finally, anybody that you want to thank for tonight and for the season?
Yeah, of course. Like, you guys, as always, like, we wouldn't be doing these races if it wasn't for, all of Genisus and you commentators. So thank you very much for that. Obviously, Veloce, we got a Veloce 1-2 in this championship with Luke. So shout out to them. And then also just all the viewers that are watching at home. My Twitch chat as well. They always support me, help me with fuel strategy and all that. So yeah, it's been a great championship. So thank you very much, guys.
Awesome stuff. Well, listen, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. That was George Boothby having a chat with us, your season champion here at the Kaizen Esports Championship. Let's have a chat with second place in the championship and second place overall, Luke Whitehead. Luke, it wasn't to be tonight. You had a mathematical possibility of taking that championship, but it was very, very quickly snatched away from you.
Yeah, well, first off, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I mean, it started so well, this championship. It started so well, and then we just got hit with bad luck after bad luck. I think the internet dying for round 9, I think, ended our championship, really. That was all it was. And after that, we were never going to really come back from it. Once you lose a race, it's over, basically. And I mean, George, kept consistent, and I knew that even on a bad day, he'd still be 4th or something, minimum, or, at worst. So I knew that after that race, it was kind of game over. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And George did a really good season as well. So GG's to him. And yeah, obviously today we had a certified Lambo moment on the curb. I took the same line as I did the previous 17 laps. And on the 18th lap, the car just bit me back. So yeah, I mean, it's life, right? I mean, I know the McLaren will never do that. The Lambo just does, and it's life. So just should have been a bit more cautious, but it is what it is. I mean, there was nothing at stake really today. Just did it for a bit of fun, obviously, and because I knew the championship was out of the cards. But as I say, it was still a fun race, and fun to participate in this championship again. To kind of thank you guys for an amazing championship.
You say the Lambo life Luke takes and it gives and it takes away in equal measures there. That was a brutal hit coming out of the inner loop there into the wall. What actually happened with the car?
No, the car just bounced. I mean, I took the same line as I mentioned. I took the same line that I had done the previous 17 laps, and that one, the car just decided that no, I'm not going to take the curb like I should, and bounced me into the wall, gave me 25 seconds of damage, and bam, that was the race gone basically. I was quite surprised to have even had relatively competitive pace. I mean, I was only 200ths off the purple lap with 25 seconds of damage, which I'd say was losing about half a second a lap. At the very minimum, 0.3 a lap it was losing. So, considering all of that, the pace was still very good and consistent. But yeah, it was unfortunate, because I think had that not happened, it would have been a pretty, straightforward cruise to the line in P1. But nonetheless, George kept it on track. I didn't, and he won today. So that's pretty much what happened, unfortunately. So.
Well,
yeah.
focusing on the positives here, Luke. You're leaving the championship joint most wins with George. Obviously, it didn't turn out your way, but a fantastic performance nonetheless. Second place, and you were so very, very close to taking that top spot. Is there anybody you want to say thank you to for this season and for tonight?
Well, first off, I'd say massive well done to George again. A really strong season and drove like a legend as he always does. So, good job to him. Also, GG's to, I believe it's Tariq, who finished P3 in the standings. Again, very consistent season from him, and he was there always, which is, what you need in a championship. And also many thanks to Genisus for holding this championship, and obviously SRGP for, also holding the championship. It's been good fun. Although it hasn't really gone my way, it's been good fun and I've enjoyed it. And I look forward to hopefully there being more action in upcoming seasons.
Well, it's been
and also thanks to you, the comms team. Also thanks to the comms team. I completely forgot. You guys, 12 races. 12 races is a lot to do, and you guys always do a good job. So yeah, thanks again. Can't obviously forget the efforts of the guys behind the scenes. So.
Look, honestly, it's always such a pleasure to have you and George and for the chats afterwards. You always have so much to say, and you give a fascinating insight into not only the championship but your individual races. So that's echoed from our side as well. We absolutely love having you guys in here. Best of luck for the new year. Enjoy your festivities, and we'll see you next year.
Yeah, have a great new year, guys. Take care and enjoy yourselves.
There we go then. Luke Whitehead finishing second place tonight and second place in the championship. Finally, let's bring in the man who inherited it all from the jaws of defeat in terms of third place there. Tariq Adam, well done on getting that final step on the podium and securing that third spot in the championship. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, thank you guys. Good evening, everyone.
When did you first realise something went horribly, horribly wrong for poor Cody?
I just came around the corner and he was just spun on the side, and I instantly asked him what happened on the stream. But yeah, it was just unfortunate for him. Super unlucky. He deserved it. He had really good pace. This is like probably his best track. He does really well, yeah, and he totally deserved P3. It's just super unfortunate what happened.
Absolutely gutting, because obviously you two were locked in a hell of a battle for the start of the race. And then it was a bit boring for yourself. You were kind of left in no man's land, 5 seconds away from pretty much anyone. What keeps you concentrated during races like that?
Oh, well, it's it's quite tough. And then first stint was quite good. I was keeping. I'm in the Discord with Cody and Luke in the race as well, so I was just deafened, focusing on the race. Right behind, right in front of Booth B. Quite intense. And then I took the pit stop a bit too cautious, so I lost out to Cody there, and he came out in front of me. And then second stint, I just had no grip. I don't know what I did with the tires on the outlap, but I was just really struggling for pace. So yeah, then Cody kind of disappeared from me. Whitehead obviously had the damage, so you could catch him, and then Cody unfortunately spun. But yeah, so it goes.
It's unfortunate the way that it kind of goes, but Tariq, you've had a fantastic season, and you know, third place still something to be very, very proud of. Do you have anybody that you want to thank for this season?
Oh yeah, you guys, the commentators, Daniel and his team for putting on the stream and the show for us. Obviously Genisus, Gareth from our team for putting the team on and the show for us and to practice for LFM Pro. And then yeah, my parents for supporting and my teammates for always pushing each other.
Some stuff. Well, listen, Tariq, congratulations, well done on third place, and we will see you at season 2.
Oh, thank you guys.
Excellent. There you go then. Tariq Adam, ladies and gentlemen, finishing in third position. So it's time for us to kind of chew the bones out of this and go through what we have left to do. Let's recap then on what we have been through this season. We started back in October. If you can believe that, ladies and gentlemen, it feels so long ago. Round 1 was at Kyalami. We went to Paul Ricard, to Bathurst, Hungaroring, Donington, Spa, Nürburgring, Barcelona, Silverstone, Suzuka, Monza, and then today at Watkins Glen. That was, ladies and gentlemen, that was season 1. We've got more to tell you in just a moment. But first, let us do a very, very special draw, because we've got a couple of winners to choose, who get to choose a wheel, pedals, or they get to choose a cash prize. So this is a participation in at least 8 of the 12 rounds, and it could be anyone that has taken part. It doesn't have to be winners, but anyone gets to see Jimmy Home in there, Henry Meyer, some of the drivers we haven't seen for a couple of rounds, Alexander Kuznetsov, Cody Sherritt, Luke Addison in there as well. So let's spin that wheel, ladies and gentlemen, and let's see who is going to be our lucky winner tonight. Jimmy Home, the homing missile. Let's go. Happy days. Right, congratulations then to Jimmy Home. You will be able to choose yourself, either get yourself a wheel, get yourself some pedals, or you get yourself $200, I believe, is it $200 in cash as well. So you'll be able to do that. So we've got another winner to choose as well, and they'll be able to get this going. Let's see. Let's go then. Let's see who else is going to be winning here tonight. It better not be Jimmy again. We're not having that. And there we go. Christian Deploy. There we go. So Jimmy Home and Christian Deploy are our 2 winners here tonight. Again, they can choose whatever they want. And a huge thank you to Camus for being so kind and helping us out with that. But there we go then. Oh, right. I think we need to have a little bit of a breather. And, well, actually, no, let's not have a breather. Let's get ourselves excited. Let's get ourselves pumped up, because season 1 has been an absolute barnstormer, ladies and gentlemen. And if season 1 is anything to go by, let's have a look at what we can expect from season 2. We go racing. Luke Whitehead lights it up. Tariq Adam is going to take the green flag and send them all down to Hell Corner. But here we go. This is the action. We will side by side. A little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a clip of his teammate there. Luke. This is through the dipper, and that, I think, is one of the Genesis cars going straight into the wall. Season 2 then of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship is just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. Go to that Discord that is pinned in the YouTube chat. Get yourself as part of the community and you will be among the first to know when the sign-ups open for Season 2. And I'm conflicted, I'll be honest with you, because part of me wants to take part, but part of me wants to be part of the commentary for next season as well. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing. Tapello, I might be leaving you all by yourself to get that happening.
I don't care what's happening. I'm changing roles next season. I'm adding my name into the draw. I'm trying to win some money. I'm trying to win a gaming wheel. I'm trying to win pedals. Look, jokes aside, it's been such a fantastic season. Look, for my first time out, again, I've mentioned it to anyone I've spoken to. The love, the admiration that I've experienced throughout this whole season, the support that's come behind the scenes from the production team, from Gareth as the team owner, from you, David, as a co-commentator. I don't think I could have gotten a better introduction, a better inauguration into sim racing commentary. If I'm here for season 2, if I'm here for season 3, I can only get better. And I just hope that everything works out well. The entertainment is there, the love, the admiration, the respect. This is a new passion of mine, and by God and everything that is within me, I will keep going because this is so much fun. I cannot think of a better way to spend a Wednesday evening.
Well, we'll come back to that in a second, Tapello, but I have to echo those sentiments. It's been an absolute privilege having you on board. But we'll come to that in a second because the man himself, Mr. Gareth Hawkins, is joining us here tonight. Gareth, you are the man pretty much responsible behind the scenes for making this championship happen. Are you fairly satisfied with how Season 1 went?
Commentary, and thank you for the kind words saying that I alone went and pulled all of this off. Let me tell you, everyone behind the scenes contributed immensely. I mean, you guys in the commentary booth, Mr. Costello in the back end, Tariq's done a sterling job in making sure that things run smoothly in terms of the races week in and week out. We've got Deploy who's been doing the graphics. We've got Geo who's been doing the little videos. So it's really been a team effort. And I think, the whole Kaizen principle has shone through. Even tonight, I mean, we didn't exactly have a full grid, but my golly, didn't we have some good racing? It was fantastic. I mean, from Abe, holding Luke off for I don't know how long, even though he had a 5-second penalty, just pride told him there's no ways he's going to let Luke past him. But I mean, it's been a great season, really has. So yeah, thrilled to have been part of this. It's fantastic.
And a fantastic prize package for the drivers, as well as some participation tokens as well. A brilliant wheel, pedals, or cash alternative on offer here tonight. Let's talk about Season 2 then, Gareth, because I want all the juicy gossip details. What can you tell me about Season 2? Do we have a time frame in mind for it? Is the date for when entries are going to open?
Well, so I mean, it's the whole kind of premise of the Kaizen Championship was also to prepare the guys for LFM. As Luke said during his interview, I think it was either Luke or George that had mentioned it. But so I mean, it's going to remain the same. So the minute that we know when the LFM season starts, will obviously be the day before. So the way I see it, it's normally kind of like a 1-week break. So it's probably going to be the 10th of January. But yeah, I mean, the actual entries will open up probably within the next week or so. But everyone can just jump into the Discord channel, keep an eye on the announcements channel there. So all the details will be provided. But there's definitely going to be a continuation, and we're definitely looking to improve. I think one of the things we're also looking at doing is to have prizes every race. So pretty much have a random draw, try and keep the participation up. We definitely saw a drop-off. We might have seen a drop-off in numbers, though, but we definitely didn't see a drop-off in the quality of racing, which was great. So, I mean, it's been fantastic.
It really has, and I think the drivers that were left more than made up for the action that was there. One of the things that we heard towards the end there, what's the thoughts on getting Tapello's name in for the draw for next season? I think we can maybe make that happen at least on one of them. Not saying he's going to win anything, mind you, but we can at least get his name on the ticket.
Well, I heard Tapello mention a couple of times on his racing experience. I think we need to get him behind a wheel for sure. Maybe try and do some commentary. You know, he's done such a sterling job in improving over this season. I think next season, the next litmus test will be to do it from inside the car. I mean, why not?
While the race is going on, yeah, I'm definitely up for that. Yeah, I don't buy that anymore. There's no, I was done after like race 2 that Tapello was new to commentary. He's been an absolute revelation this season, and he's honestly taken to it like a proverbial duck to water here. And it's fascinating being seeing, that not only the championship welcomes drivers in that way, but also behind the scenes in the production here as well.
No, absolutely. I think that's the whole philosophy, right? Is it's everyone can jump in, and no matter what it is that you're doing. And I think I mentioned in the first interview. I mean, we even live by this ethos on the Genisus risk side. So we're always trying to improve, always trying to do things better. And this obviously is a great way to demonstrate that. Have the guys come in and race every week. And we actually saw Roland Stain come in, the keyboard warrior, which is actually a controller, by the way, but with those movements it really looked like a keyboard. But it'll be great to see him come in next season with a wheel and really see how he improves over the season. I think he'll get a couple of lessons with one of our drivers, so I anticipate some great things even from someone like himself. And I mean, this championship is open to everyone and to all, so everyone that's keen, season 2 is around the corner. Just go and sign up and participate. As we've seen, there's also participation prizes, so it's not just for the top 3. And it's a great way to prepare everyone for the LFM championship, which is on the Pro Series, which is on Thursday nights. So it's nice way to warm up and go and be a lot more competitive in that series. So looking forward to it.
As you heard from Gareth there, the link to the community Discord, the Genisus Esports Discord, is pinned in the YouTube chat, ladies and gentlemen. Head over there and get yourself involved for Season 2. Just before we head off, Gareth, is there anybody you'd like to thank or say hello to for the season?
Well, I'd like to say thank you to you guys and to the team for pulling it off. I mean, the guys have really slogged it out the entire season. I know it's a long season. It's 12 weeks in total. I mean, the guys have been doing a lot of racing in between. I think a big shout out to the whole team, from Tariq, Luke, Cody. Man, it's so unfortunate to see Cody go and smash that wall right at the end. I mean, he was catching Whitehead, ended up getting fastest lap, and right at the end, at the death, he totaled himself. But I mean, the whole team, right, all the way through. I mean, Porsche, Deploy, Fenter. We've had a couple of guys that have dropped out, unfortunately, during the season, some of the club guys. So I'd love to see them in a little bit more. I know Omar was watching. He dropped a note cheering the guys on. I mean, if he was in the race tonight, he could have also been in that draw. But I mean, it'll be great to try and get a more of a stronger, well, I wouldn't say stronger field. I mean, we had a great field, but more of a full grid consistently throughout the season next season. And I mean, if there's any suggestions on what we can do to improve, we're always open to hearing thoughts of others. And I mean, the whole point is for us to just continuously improve, season in and season out. And we definitely won't be stopping at season 2 either. And even like I said to yourself, David Tubbs, it's been a great season, and looking forward to having you guys back in the commentary booth again next season. Oh, maybe also, sorry, one last thing, the stewards, man, they've been doing a sterling job. Let me tell you, it's even on the quiet races, they've even had enough time to pull out a few memes now and again. So I can't wait to see some more of those. So just a shout out to them as well.
A hell of a shift put in from the stewards there. Gareth Hawkins there from Genisus. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight, and thank you for putting on this wonderful championship. Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is us done and dusted. I think it's time for a couple of final words to Pello Merioli, my good friend. It's been a hell of a season. Just very briefly, your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. What a season. We've said it multiple times throughout the season. It's been great to watch. It's been great to be a part of. Fantastic production. Congratulations to the drivers. Congratulations to the guys behind the scenes. You, David, Daniel, Gareth, everyone who's come together and put on a fantastic show. Glad to be here. Hope I'll join you guys soon. To everyone who's watched, tuned in, shared the love on social media, thank you so much. We enjoyed it. End of the year. Have a good break. Happy New Year. See you next year.
Awesome stuff. Well, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains to say is that is it. 12 weeks of some incredible community racing here from the Genisus Esports Championship. It's been a fantastic season one for the Kaizen outing. We will be back again next year in 2024 for season 2. Get yourself over to the Discord that's pinned in the YouTube chat to get yourself involved. On behalf of everyone here at the commentary team and everyone here at the broadcast as well, thank you so much for watching and keeping us company through the 12 weeks. Have a wonderful new year, and we will see you next year for season 2.